Yo, what is going on? I appreciate everybody for tuning in. I'm Marcus here. We do attorney reactions to current events, trending news. We got three topics we're going to get to today. We're going to get in and out because I got to lay down. In any event, hey, I appreciate everybody who's tuning in, the folks who subscribe, the folks who watch who aren't subscribed. Shout out to the channel members for the extra support. You appreciate it. I'm very humble and very grateful. Now, I've been in this attorney game for almost 16 years now. Your boy getting up there. I've worked on both sides of the spectrum, defense, prosecution, investigations, all of that good stuff. So I got a fair amount of experience to talk about things. So the first story that we're going to talk about is Mr. Sean Combs. Now, this is interesting because I'm going to be honest, I thought that they would get a guilty conviction on the RICO charge, and they didn't. So this is a big, colossal loss for the prosecution. This is like going into a championship fight and getting knocked out in the 10th round. This is actually a colossal loss, a very big win for Sean Combs and his attorneys. Let's go ahead and take a look at the video. I'm going to try to let it play through as much as I can, but for y'all folks that don't know, I got to pause it intermittently because YouTube be acting janky sometimes. There are some things that occurred that I don't agree with, but more importantly, I'm going to tell you why I believe Diddy was successful in getting a not guilty on the RICO charge, which is something that I really didn't think about until I just sat down and I was like, what the hell? So we're going to talk about it. Let's dive into the video.
The judge is going to decide whether he gets to stay in custody. But say he is released, he's going to have to come back in a couple of months. They're both sides are going to trade papers about what they think an appropriate sentence would be.
Now, this video is some hours outdated. The court remanded him back into custody, so he did not get out. That, I think, is an error that was made by the judge. The fact that he was essentially found guilty on Mann Act charges, prostitution charges, I don't think what he was charged with, the big charges that he was charged with, because he was found guilty, these are essentially his first convictions. I honestly think that he should have been allowed to leave out of custody until sentencing. I don't think at this juncture, considering the charges that he was found guilty on and what he was not found guilty on, I don't think that there's any threat to the community there. I don't think that, yes, he has the means to flee, but why would he flee after essentially getting a hell of a victory in court? This is a win for him because he's not facing life in prison. He could be facing potentially 20 years, but that's probably not going to happen. Right now, they're arguing because the government is saying that on the sentencing chart, Diddy is looking at 5.5 years. His defense is arguing, I think, 2.5. So it's going to be interesting to see where he falls on the sentencing schedule. But I do think that the judge kind of just, didn't want to be the one responsible for letting him go. But considering he was only charged with essentially prostitution charges, okay, he paid people to have sex with him, big whoop. Considering that was his charges, I thought that the judge should have actually allowed him to leave until sentencing.
Yes, both sides are going to talk about in documents they're going to submit to the court. They're going to say what an appropriate sentence should be. I suspect Diddy's team is going to say there should be no more jail time, at the very most time served. Prosecutors are going to try and argue for something closer to that maximum. And then there's another part of the process where an outside entity will do a review. This would be a probation department will do a review and make a determination about that and what their recommendation is. And that will be based on many different factors, including other similar cases for a first-time conviction on this type of charge. So there's going to be a lot of looking at the federal guidelines as far as what this sentence would be appropriate. And the judge is really limited in those sentencing guidelines. There's discretion up to that 10 years, but they're going to use those guidelines in order to really pin down what would be appropriate under the circumstances. And just looking at the scene outside of court, Laura, this is what it's been like every day, but it seems to be even more so now.
And real quick, the guidelines that they're talking about, the sentencing guidelines, they're different at state level and federal level. Long story short, what happens is you and I are both charged with a crime, the same exact crime. But I have 3 prior convictions. You have no prior convictions. Because of my prior contact with the court, it makes me susceptible to a higher sentence because I fall in a different place on the sentencing chart than you would as a person who is eating their first conviction.
Obviously, a lot of interest in this case, but that sentencing hearing, that is going to be something that truly we will hear on both sides, mitigating and aggravating factors, mitigating from the defense, aggravating from the prosecution. And it's a question mark about what actually the prosecutors are going to be able to talk about given the acquittal on some of these other charges.
But they're also going to take into account, the judge is going to take into account his behavior while behind bars for the past couple of months.
Behavior while behind bars, behavior to the extent that there's going to be a period of time in between, whether or not he follows all of the conditions that are attached, all of that is going to be taken into consideration.
This is a huge victory for Diddy and his attorneys. And I kind of thought about it because I know we went through the RICO charge, what qualifies as a RICO predicate, how you only have to prove 2 RICO predicates within a 10-year window. I did not see this coming. I'm going to give you hey, I'm going to keep it a buck. Hey, most I don't know what that was. Testing 1, 2. Y'all with me? Okay. Man, that was crazy. My whole my whole stream went out. Now I gotta add this thing back. Give me 1 second. I don't know what the hell going on. But all right. There we go. All right, I'm glad it just picked up where it left off. Let me just make sure my audio good real quick. All right. So I couldn't figure out what was going on. I was like, yo, what's going on? Why can't people put the pieces together for a RICO case? And I think the reason is, now y'all let me know what y'all think, but I think the reason is typically when we see a RICO case, remember, one of the things you have to prove is that there is an organization. Most times when we see a RICO case, there's an organization, and that organization's sole mission is the commission of whatever the criminal acts are. So normally when you see RICO apply, you're talking about, I don't know, some cartel as the organization, some mafia, La Cosa Nostra as an organization, some gangs, Crip Bloods, whatever you want to call it as an organization. So I think the thing that gives the jury cause to pause, I think it kind of clouds the jury's view on a RICO charge when you have an organization that has a legitimate function that may also be accused of doing something criminal. So I think it's easy for a jury to see, okay, this is clearly an organized criminal conspiracy when it's a gang or a cartel, because the only business that they engage in is generally that of illegality. But I think when you have a record label, Bad Boy Entertainment, and people universally knows it as a legitimate business, and now you're saying that this legitimate business also had this other function, was to sex traffic and all of those things, I think that actually made it difficult for the jury. And I'll tell you, As soon as they came back with a question about racketeering, I was like, uh-oh. I was like, I didn't see it coming off the jump, but as soon as the jury came back with a question, I knew that, oh, this is going to end very well for Diddy, because when jurors come back with questions, that means they're struggling with something. The other thing that a lot of people don't know, the holiday weekend has something to do with it. Now, I know y'all thinking, what the hell does the 4th of July have to do with what happened in Diddy's trial? But jurors hate to have to come back after a long weekend. It is a statistic that's actually out there. Jurors will actually try their hardest to come to a collective, unanimous decision rather than have to leave on a Thursday and come back on Monday. Nobody wants to do that. So it actually puts a little bit of pressure on the jury. So when they came back with a question on the RICO charge, I was like, uh-oh, there's something shaky going on with that RICO charge. And they damn sure didn't want to be there all the way until and come back Monday to hash it out. So at that point, I was like, oh, this is going to end relatively well. But that was a big deal, a big win for Diddy. I don't think he's going to get no max sentence. They're not going to run him back to back. He'll probably do a couple years. He'll get credit for some of the time served towards that 2 years, and he'll be out. Now, I will tell you, and you all let me know, do you all think he'll ever reach billionaire status again? I don't think so. I think that those days have come and gone. But I think he will continue to be relatively successful. He will continue to have be a wealthy individual. It's going to be interesting. And shout out to everybody in the chat. Common Sense, I appreciate you tuning in. You think he was overcharged? Yeah, I mean, the other problem is, so the confusion with RICO, when you see a business that has a legit purpose and you're also saying they're engaged in something criminal, that's different from what we normally see when you're talking about a RICO organization. It's normally gang, drugs, no legitimacy, or something like that. So I think that made it hard for the jury or difficult. But the other thing too, Maui, I think you had a good point, is like, dude, people are on the fence about levying charges for someone and their sexual proclivities. Right now, I'm sure in Hollywood, somebody got flued out for a cheek clapping session, and there's probably some form of compensation in the form of shopping or actual payment or an opportunity. It just happens all the time. So people are really reluctant to delve into, do we want to go down a road where people are getting charged criminally for the crazy stuff that they may do in their bedroom? A lot of debates occur around that, and some people are just on the fence. Yeah, they were throwing it up there. I thought they was going to get the RICO charge, but shout out to the defense team. It was a big victory for them. The prosecutor's office got mud on their face. Absolutely terrible. I think that the judge should have allowed him to go home, considering he was only found guilty of, essentially, he likes to sleep with prostitutes and do some freaky shit. Like, I don't think there was a reason to remand him into custody with those charges. I don't think he posed any type of threat. That was just my take on it. I don't think he's going to get hit over the head at sentencing. I'm guessing a couple of years. Like, he's been in custody for what, a year now, maybe? I'm guessing a couple of years. He may have to do 10 to 12 more months. That may get reduced for, I don't know, certain mitigating factors, good behavior, anything like that. It's going to be interesting to see how it played out. I don't think there was any evidence of that. Yeah. I mean, I just don't think the jury could buy that the organization was a criminal organization, and that one of their purpose was to engage in sex trafficking just for his sexual pleasure. I just think that the entity Bad Boy Entertainment is known as a legitimate company, and I think that just kind of muddied the waters for the juries and kind of ruined the prosecution's case. But hey, that's it for Diddy. The last thing on that is, I hate when judges do this. Generally, when you're having a trial, you are barred from talking to the jury. There's been times when I've been a defense attorney and I've had trials, and everybody recessed for lunch, and I'm getting ready to get on the elevator, and those doors open up, and there's a juror on there. I don't even get on the elevator because you can't talk to them. You don't want to say anything. If you say hi to a juror, it could be perceived as essentially biasing the jury towards your favor. So generally during the trial, you can't say shit to a jury. No one can say anything to them. Now, this is interesting because now that it's over, the judge actually told the jury, he kind of gave them some words and the media as well, as if they should not talk to the jury. And I thought that was actually crazy because once it's over, the jurors are free to talk about the case all they want. I'm interested to see who's going to be the first person to go on Dateline 2020 and talk about the case. But I wasn't a fan of the judge essentially trying to preclude the jury from having conversations with the media. The jury at this point, now that it's over, is within their right to have conversation. And I'm actually interested in the thought process of how things went. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how it go, but I think that was a bad call on the judge's part. There's just a big squealer club that was into some pretty bizarre stuff. Facts. I agree. Criminalizing what people do in the bedroom is kind of looked at as like, most folks don't want to touch that. All right. Now, this next story is interesting. I don't really get too political on here, but we'll watch the story and then we're going to have a conversation on birthright citizenship because I would like to know where everybody stands. I'm going to actually tell y'all what my position is, but I'd like to know where everybody stands on it. But this next story is actually ridiculous. It's interesting. I'm actually shocked how someone who would even say this would be elected to office. Calls to resign. Probably not going to resign, but I definitely see why there are calls to resign. So let's dive into this next topic about an elected official asking gang organizations to help or to protect their turf from immigration and customs enforcement. Crazy work. It's crazy me just saying that.
Where's the leadership at? Because you guys are all about territory, and this is 18th Street, and this is Torrance, and you guys tag everything up, claiming hood. And now that your hood's being invaded by the biggest gang there is, there ain't a peep out of you.
New details as the vice mayor of Cudahy is facing calls to resign over.
All right, real quick. So she made that comment, and I mean, you tell me how you all take those comments. I take them how they were reported. She asking, "Where are you? Like where y'all at? Where's the leadership?" It's giving crazy to me. But her post is actually hilarious. So she makes this comment, and then she posts a couple days ago, "I need a lawyer. The FBI just came to my house. If anyone wants to support, please DM me." Then the next post says, "Does anybody know any lawyers that work for the ACLU? I'm working with a lawyer currently, but also believe this is a First Amendment rights issue and want to get support from as many folks as possible." Now let's finish listening to this story, and then we're going to talk about was her comments fair or foul. Y'all probably know where I fall just based on what I said initially before we even watched this video.
Calls to resign over that controversial video where she calls for local gang members to defend their territories against ICE agents. Cynthia Gonzalez shared that post last week. She's since deleted it, along with Facebook posts in which she writes about needing a lawyer, adding that the FBI came to her house. Federal sources tell Fox News that they are looking into that video. And new reaction from the union representing LAPD officers. The LA Police Protective League slammed Gonzalez, saying her remarks put law enforcement at risk. The union releasing a statement that reads in part, quote, "Her actions are deplorable and potentially illegal. She should resign, and she should be prosecuted if what she called for broke the law." Vice Mayor has not returned Fox 11's calls.
Okay, she's not going to return anybody's calls. I think it was an absolute idiotic statement to make. Is the statement criminal? I don't know, because there are certain protections that are afforded by the First Amendment, but the First Amendment does not protect against, like, I guess, speech that incites violence. So I guess some would say, well, this is something that could incite violence. It makes the job that ICE is trying to do even more difficult. Um, I don't know. I would be shocked if, well, I don't know. I wouldn't be shocked. Generally, under any other circumstances, I don't think that this would result in criminal charges. Okay. Under any other circumstances, this Department of Justice, I don't know. I would not be shocked. But if I had to guess, I don't think it's going to amount to anything. She may have to lose some time, effort, energy, and money and having attorneys sort through this stuff initially, but I would be shocked. I wouldn't be shocked, but I would be surprised if it did in fact result in any type of criminal charges being levied. And then let's just be honest. Like, you think the 18th Street gang or whoever, whatever gang she said, is going to be like, you know what? The vice mayor is right. Let's go stand on business and hold our blocks down from ICE. They not coming to get us. Hell no. Ain't nobody listening to her. So I don't even know if her statements would meet the definition of, like, any statement could incite violence, but what's the realistic chance of that what she said will result in what she said would actually result in coming into fruition? I just don't think that that is the case. Dumbass comment. I can see why people are calling for her to resign. I can see why she is probably going to have a very difficult time working with law enforcement, because you can't say things like that. It is, as an executive elected official, law enforcement is one of your greatest assets. The persons who enforce the law, the military, the police officers that are paid with taxpayers' money, since the beginning of time, those have been one of the most important things to a person in charge actually maintaining power. So she probably won't be back in that seat. I don't know. Maybe her constituents love her, but I think it's going to be very, very problematic for her. Y'all let me know y'all take on that in the comments. Now, before we get out of here, I want to talk about this last story, because this story is actually crazy. Okay. This story is about a murder plot that was hatched by a group of female fifth graders. Fifth grade, like, okay. Eighth grade, like, yeah, eighth grade, I know people who was out here shooting it up. Fifth grade, plotting a murder plot. And this murder plot, it wasn't the greatest murder plot, but it was pretty advanced for fifth graders. It's absolutely terrible. I don't even know. Like, this is just like fifth graders plotting a murder plot. Like, I literally remember the fifth grade. In fifth grade, when I was in fifth grade, that was like the first time I kissed a girl. And it was just like, mwah, a peck on the lips. And I remember after 2 days, my father got me a new video game. It was y'all probably don't remember this cartoon because I'm old, but Captain Bucky O'Hare. It was like a rabbit who traveled through space with like a duck and a human kid. It was really a weird cartoon. But he got me that video game, and I was in the house playing that video game. I remember I went to school the next day, and she was like, "Why didn't you call me?" And I was like, "Oh, I was playing this new game. My fault." Then the next day after school, I didn't call her because when I was going to call her, Alf was on. See, y'all don't know about Alf, but back in the day, it was a show about an alien life form, Alf. And he would try to eat the cat, and I was watching Alf. So I come back to school the next day, and she was just chewing me out like, "What?" She was like, "What? Why you didn't call me?" I was like, "Yo, Alf was on. You wasn't watching Alf?" Because I was watching Alf. And I was like, you know what? The third day, I was like, I'm going to have to cut this off. I can't watch Alf. She interfering with my ability to play video games. I don't like this at all. That's what I was doing in fifth grade. Fifth grade, it was really small, minute problems. Nothing that rose to the level of me wanting to hatch an intricate murder plot with other classmates in the fifth grade. So let's go ahead, tune into this story. This is from Arizona. This is a story out of Arizona. If y'all from Arizona in the chat, hey, y'all let me know in the comments y'all thoughts on this one. This shit was absolutely bonkers.
And an unusual story here, new details about a murder plot thought up by fifth grade girls at a West Valley school. The girls accused of planning to stab their classmate and to try to make it look like a suicide.
Fifth grade. This. I don't know what's up with the struggle streaming. I don't know what's going on with the struggle streaming. I appreciate y'all for hanging in there. Let's go back to the video. I don't know why the hell it's doing that. I'm plugged in and everything. But this is actually the craziest shit I ever heard. A group of female girls in the fifth grade, group of girls in the fifth grade, female girls. I do not know what's going on. Let's go ahead and play the video. We're going to get through the video because my shit is acting janky for some reason, like I got net zero. This story crazy as hell.
School. The girls accused of planning to stab their classmate and to try to make it look like a suicide.
12 News journalist Gabriella McCary is live in Surprise with the latest on this case. This is just unbelievable, Gabriella.
It is, Tram and Troy, and according to the Surprise police report, one of the suspects allegedly had just broken up with the boy they were targeting. Some of the suspects told officers they didn't think they were going to go through with this plan, and they were too scared to tell an adult what was going on. A conversation between four fifth-grade girls at...
Now, the way that school... All right, I'm going to play this shit all the way through, and hopefully YouTube don't get too goofy. But the way that school looks, that looks like a school in a nice neighborhood that's an affluent neighborhood.
Tell an adult what was going on. A conversation between four fifth-grade girls at recess turned into a criminal investigation. According to a newly obtained police report, the girls are accused of plotting to kill their classmate at Legacy Traditional School in West Surprise by luring him into an outside bathroom and stabbing him in the stomach. Quote, "Just end him," is what they allegedly agreed upon while sitting at a lunch table on October 1st, 2024. Each of the girls had a role in the plan, which included wearing gloves to hide fingerprints, forging a suicide note, and having lookouts. The plan...
That's fucking insane, bro. That's like pure evil to even have a conversation to hatch something like that, especially in the fifth grade. That's wild.
And didn't pan out because another classmate overheard their conversation and told her parent and the school resource officer. The arresting officer notes 3 of the girls and their families appeared remorseful and apologized, but one girl smiled, laughed, and made excuses.
Bro, that's kind of scary to smile and laugh about a murder plot that you were caught because you were talking about it. Thank God somebody at the school heard it and told the resource officer and their parents.
So in 5th grade, you're starting to really put a lot of emphasis and care about what your peers think about you.
Child and adolescent psychiatrist Dr. Mark Anderson tells me this time in a child's life can be difficult as they're susceptible to challenges of peer pressure and they still don't fully know right from wrong.
Pay attention to potential warning signs. And if you're seeing that there might be an issue, then and you don't know what to do, there are doctors like myself. There are a lot of people in the community that are here to help parents, to help families, and to help the kids.
That's fucking crazy.
And a spokesperson for Legacy Traditional
Insane.
Schools tells me the safety and well-being of their students is their top priority and that they acted immediately and appropriate with the help of law enforcement on this matter from last year. I also talked to the Maricopa County Attorney's Office, who tells me misdemeanor charges were referred to them last year, and this case has since been adjudicated. Live in Surprise, Gabriela Becerra, 12 News.
Okay, now they're not going to talk about how it was adjudicated, what was the outcome, because they're minors, so they do have some protection in that regard. But okay, let's real quick before we get out of here, because I need y'all take on this. Okay, I did a video maybe last week about a 13 and a 14-year-old. It was two young black men. They look like they're trying to be junior pookies or goons in training, but they allegedly did not get invited to a house party. So they show up to the party, shoot up the place, and they hit a kid inside. Luckily, that child didn't die, and they were being held in custody. The judge properly did not release them on bond. The prosecutors appropriately charged them as an adult. And so I beg the question of, should children be charged as adults for crimes? And you'll be amazed. There was some people in there who were like, absolutely not. 13 and 14-year-olds shooting a damn gun in a random ass house, hitting somebody. Hey, I'm sorry. If I'm the judge, get down there. No, adults. You want to do big boy shit, you're going to get big boy consequences. So let's kind of pivot. Now, this situation, fifth graders, a lot younger, but equally crazy, equally deadly. Hey, plotting a murder plot to the point where you wearing gloves, stabbing people right in the suicide note. The girls weren't smart enough to know about blood splatter and how to look and how it clearly wouldn't be a suicide. But that's some serious fucking thinking. Like, maybe this is just me, okay? I know the doctor was on there and said at that age, people don't know right from wrong. I think that's, I'm going to call bullshit on that, okay? I know your frontal lobe isn't developed, but I knew in fifth grade, and I think most fifth graders know that you just shouldn't be stabbing motherfuckers. You shouldn't be stabbing your classmate with knives. I think most fifth graders have enough logic and rational thought to understand that that is generally something that is bad. So as far as I'm concerned, like, yo, I'm not opposed with charging a child as an adult, depending on the conduct. Now, I will say, and somebody made this comment, and I thought this was fair. They said they don't think that juveniles should get life sentences without parole. I'm not necessarily opposed to that. Juveniles shouldn't get life sentences without parole because parole isn't guaranteed. It still has to be some overt effort of good behavior and accountability on the part of the defendant. So I think that makes sense. Now, this case is a little bit different because 13 and 14-year-olds, I've seen 13 and 14-year-olds who are hardcore criminals by that time, and they deep doing street shit. Fifth graders, what are you, 10, 11 years old in the fifth grade? I don't know. Like, I don't know what the outcome was because they were minors. If I had to guess, I would guess that there were probably charges initiated. They probably had some type of sanction. It's in their juvenile record. It'll stay in their juvenile record until they turn 18. Then once they're 18, a lot of times those juvenile records are sealed. But hey, generally, my general rule is if you do the crime, you should probably, if the crime is some real big boy shit, you probably should have some real big boy accountability. Let's see. Yes, adult. Yeah, I do think a mandate of a serious site until age 18, not compliance, convert to adult criminal charges, and then an additional 10 years probation after 18. That's fair. That's actually relatively reasonable. I agree. I think that is that's actually reasonable. Shout out to you. That's a very good option. Common sense. I like that. That's actually reasonable, depending on the circumstances, the seriousness of the charge. That's okay. I like that. I like that. That's good. It's all the hormones and the milk and chicken. I don't know, man. Hormones, schmormones. I mean, I get it, but plotting a murder, trying to a fifth grader trying to kill another fifth grader for cheating on him is crazy. That's crazy. Like, I don't know. Like, shout out to my first girlfriend who I broke up with after 3 days for that trying to kill me because I wanted to watch Alf instead of calling you. But I don't know. That's just crazy. Depending on the crime, I agree. I think when it's crimes of violence like that, I'm probably going to lean more into, hey, this is a serious crime. When you're talking about anything that could cause another person their life, I think that shit is serious, and I think the accountability should be equal and appropriate to the offense. But I do like your position, common sense, of the psyche vow, hold them to 18, some sentence held over their head as an adult while they complete a certain term of probation. I can see how that would be. I could see some instances where that apply. Those two kids who shot in a random. I have no clue what's going on with this stupid ass thing. But the two kids who shot in a random house, I'm less inclined to give them any sympathy and or empathy. That's just me. That's fair. I like that. 30 years incarceration, obtain an education and skill set, and shows they can contribute society after 30 years of memorable parole eligibility. That's fair. Let's see. What's going on? What's going on, Etai? Hey, man, I appreciate you tuning in, even if you do catch the tail end, brother. I mean, there are lifetime of criminals that do get out and commit violent crimes. Yeah. I mean, and I don't know. Maybe I'm kind of jaded because, like, I used to be that young defense attorney, and I would get a kid in who was like 15 or 16, and I was like real preachy, like, "Oh man, you got so much you could do with your life, and man, you're actually talented, and you're clearly a sharp kid." And I would do all of this preaching, and some people listened, but honestly, most people didn't, and it just became a revolving door. And as I grew in the legal field, a lot of those younger clients grew in the criminal field. Those misdemeanors that they had turned into felonies, and those low level felonies turned into high level felonies. And I'm not saying that's all the time, but it happens a lot. Is that the preschool to prison pipeline is actually a real thing. Yeah, I'm also a fan. Minor children crimes. The parents should be possible. Excuse the parents should be considered an accessory consideration. I don't know. Um, I understand where you're going with that, and parents have some level of accountability. Parents have some level of accountability for their child. I think everybody would agree with that general statement. But I'm gonna just be honest. And like, I mean, I would just tell you what I see. If a lot of times a single, if you're in the hood, is a single mother with a 14, 15, 16 year olds, a lot of times they can't tell them shit. I'm gonna just be honest. Like I'm a firm believer of like single mothers. If they're raising a son, they should do something to put the fear of God in them, just like my mother did to me when she socked the hell out of me in front of my friends from doing some stupid shit, being someplace I had no business being. But I don't know. I think it's just I understand that I understand the logic of having the parents have some type of accountability for the actions of their child, but There are actual parents out there who are good parents who are actually trying, and their kids just like, yo, we not trying to hear what the hell you got to say. We're gonna do whatever the fuck we want to do, and like, I don't know. Is a I don't know. It's difficult. It's difficult. I understand your position, but it's difficult because every situation isn't created equally. That's fair. That's a good one. That's a good one. Formal single. I don't know what's going on. I got some cheap ass internet action going on tonight. But I agree. When I was younger, I didn't have a curfew, and when I asked my father what time I should be in the house, and he said, "You get in when you think you need to get in. Just realize that if something happens, you fit the description." And I came in at a reasonable time. Yo, I'm having too many technical difficulties. You all let me know what y'all think in the comments about the fifth grade murder plot. Would you be comfortable with those children being charged as adults? Um, See, if they would have actually carried out that plan and stabbed a fifth grade boy and killed him in the bathroom and planted a suicide note, everybody would always be like, throw him in prison. They should absolutely be charged as an adult. So I think the planning is just as deadly as the execution, even if the plot doesn't get executed. That's my opinion. That's my take. Technical difficulties, so I'm getting off here. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Common Sense, E-Top, Maui. I appreciate all y'all. Y'all be safe. Y'all be blessed. We're going to get back on this thing on Friday. Be safe. Peace.